like to do, whatever you're comfortable with, and we'll get things going here for you. We know you're getting hungry and we want to feed you because we got a lot of good food out there. We got to get it to you. Got to get it in you so you have a nice time tonight. But we're really glad to have you with us here, and we appreciate you taking the time to come up and spend the evening with us here at Kahua Ranch. We always enjoy it. It's our favorite day of the week, Wednesday. That's our favorite time. So we're glad to have you with us. I'm going to talk to you for just a few minutes, first of all, about some safety tips. Just things. Now, why do you think we mention this to you folks? Because it's happened. That's right, sweetheart. That's right. And the truth is, folks got lost, and the truth is, we didn't go looking. And so that was a long time before they found their way home. So we just want to keep that in mind, okay? We got a bunch of young'uns, and my goodness, we love it when the young'uns come up. So we just want to make sure that they're safe and everybody's safe. Not going to take much of your time because I know you're hungry, but sometimes folks like to know a little bit about it. Ranching in Hawaii is an unknown thing to a lot of people. They don't realize that the cattle business is a big business in Hawaii. And the truth is that long before there was a Texas cowboy where I came from, long before there was a Wyoming cowboy, there were cowboys in the Hawaiian Islands. A lot of folks don't realize that. Now let me tell you what happened. In the 1700s, there were a lot of travelers that would come through the islands. And in order to let King Kamehameha let them get on the island and have anything to do with them, they found out that if they bring him some gifts from time to time, he'd let them come. And they'd do business, all kind of whatever business they did. One traveler came through. In fact, a lot of travelers would come through and they would bring different kind of plants and they would bring certain kinds of food and they'd bring critters with them that the Hawaiians had never seen. That's how pigs got around here and all that kind of stuff. And they would bring these animals and they would give them as gifts. Now, one traveler came through and he brought King Kamehameha 3 cows and a bull. And he said, listen, basically, if you just leave these critters alone and let them breed, you ain't never going to have to worry about feeding your people again. So King Kamehameha, he liked that gift. And he put what they call a kapu. Anybody ever heard of a kapu? Anybody ever heard of that? Okay, well, what that is that's a word that basically means sacred, leave it alone, stay away, don't go there. So he put a kapu on these cattle so that no one, anybody that hurt these cattle, killed them, they'd be deader than a doornail. Because that's how serious a kapu was. So that kapu lasted until the son of King Kamehameha some years later. So what was happening was there were so many cows, so much cattle, and these were longhorn steers and cows. They were longhorns. They were so many of them, they started eating the Hawaiian people out of house and home. I mean, literally, they'd get up on the top of roofs that were built into the side of the hill, and they'd eat the thatch right off the roofs. And in fact, what got real serious is that a couple of local Hawaiians got killed by these cattle. And so eventually that kapu was lifted. And so they tried to wrangle these cattle and to work with them. And they came up with all kinds of ideas, but they couldn't figure out how to handle cattle. So a traveler came through and he said, listen, you got yourself the potential for a big business here. I'm going to send you some cattlemen who are going to teach you how to handle cattle. So what they did is they sent for a group of vaqueros. Anybody know what a vaquero is? Anybody ever heard of that? Sweetheart, do you know what that is? Yeah, okay. Yeah, right. Very good. Vaqueros are, in fact, probably the greatest cowboys that ever lived were Spanish and Mexican cowboys. They knew more about cattle than anybody did. So they sent over some of these vaqueros with their own horses, their cutting horses, and they taught the Hawaiians how to handle cattle. And then they taught them how to market the cattle. And they taught them how to ride horses. And they taught them everything they needed to know about the cattle business. And that's how the cattle business started. Now, about in 1840, King Kamehameha III decided he was going to give some land to these people on the island. He's going to allot certain strips of land to the folks. Now, I don't know why he did it. I don't know if it was because they was family, friends, or hierarchy, whatever the case might be. I really don't know. I haven't looked into it that much. But he did give them some little slices of land. The land that you're on right now, which is Kahua Ranch, is one of those strips of land. And in the 1840s, it was given to certain individuals. And since then, the ownership of this land has changed 5 different times. Until in 1928, the Richards family and the Van Holt family together bought this property. And they've been operating it as a cattle ranch ever since then, since 1928. And to this day, the Richards family still operates it as a family business. So that's what you're seeing right here. Now, on this ranch, we have 2,100 acres where you're standing. We lease 1,000 more acres because we need that land for as much cattle as we deal with. It's in another part of the island where the grass is good like this. Now, on that 2,100 acres, we keep 1,000 mama cows, basically. We try to keep 1,000 mama cows. And it takes 30 bulls to deal with them mama cows. To keep business going, that's their business. And it takes 30 of them to do a good job. And so we got about 1,000 mama cows and about 30 bulls that take care of the mama cows. Altogether, we run on an average about 2,500 head of cattle. Now, this is a calf cow operation, which means that our business is raising calves to become mama cows or become bulls. And if they're not a mama cow or a bull, they become a steer or beef cattle. And so that's the business that we're in. We also have a business of sheep. We keep about 600 head of sheep. The truth of the matter is right now sheep is a commodity that we can't even keep up. There's so much demand for sheep. And so we try to keep them going as much as we can. But not only do the sheep serve the purpose of wool that we can make money from, or the meat, the lamb that is sold to many of the restaurants and things here on the island. Not so much the beef, because of the cost, so we'll get into that in just a minute. But we try to keep those sheep as much as we can. But those sheep serve a couple of good purposes as well, and this is interesting. Now on the Hawaiian Islands, if you drive around, you're going to see these little bitty things. They look like a baby sunflower. They're actually a weed, but they got a yellow flower on the top of them. They're called Madagascar fireweed. They're everywhere. When they came over here with trucks and tractors to build roads, that stuff was already in their tracks and they just spread everywhere. And it's all over the island, especially in this kind of ground where the grass grows. Now the problem with that Madagascar fireweed is that if our cattle or our horses eat it, it kills them. It destroys their heart and it kills them dead. So we got to figure out a way. We don't want to go out here and poison the ground because we just don't do that. We don't poison the ground whatsoever. Have no intention of doing that. So how can we deal with this Madagascar fireweed that grows so fast we can't poison it and get rid of it? How do we get rid of it? The sheep. That's right. You see, the sheep can eat that stuff all day long right down to the ground. Don't bother them one bit. So all we do is when we see that stuff coming out and we got to get rid of it, we just send the sheep in there. Let the sheep eat all that Madagascar fireweed. Then when that's all done, then we can settle cattle in. So we use the sheep so that we can raise more cows without killing them. So that's just called cowboy technology. That's all I do. So that works out real good. So anyway, that's kind of the history. And one of the things that's interesting about, I mentioned to you that before there were cowboys in Texas and Wyoming, there were cowboys here. Now these boys that are cowboys here and have been for many years, they're not just working cowboys, but they're cowboys in every sense of the word. Let me tell you a little story that's a true story. In 1908, there was a local rancher that he sponsored 3 local cowboys to go to Cheyenne, Wyoming, to the Frontier Days Worldwide Rodeo Championship in 1908. He sponsored 3 of them. One of them was Kahua Purdy and his 2 cousins. They went over there sponsored by this cattle rancher to compete in the worldwide rodeo. And when they got there, them old cowboys over there, they were laughing at them because they had these funny hats. And they had these leis wrapped around their head. And they just made fun of them. They didn't think, from what? Where are you from? What are you talking about? But here's the interesting story. When those 3 cowboys entered in, 2 of them placed, and 1 of them won the championship for steer roping. Kahua Purdy was a worldwide champion steer roper. In fact, in Waimea town, if you ever go there, there's a statue there in Waimea town at the shopping center, and it's in dedication of these 3 cowboys. And ever since that happened, Those cowboys were recognized, and Hawaiian Cowboys are recognized as top-notch, absolute cowboys. Isn't that a wonderful story? A lot of folks don't know that. So anyway, that's a little bit of history about the Hawaiian Islands and about the history of the ranch. We are so happy that you're up here with us tonight. We know you're going to have a good time. We're going to get you in here and get you some good food, all you can eat. We know you're going to have a good time. And then we're also, while you're eating, and so after you eat, we're going to play some real, true, down-home country music for you. So we hope you enjoy it. You folks have a good time tonight. Thank you so much.
Amarillo by morning, up from San Antonio. Everything that I got, just I got. I ain't got a dime, what I got is mine. I ain't rich, but I'm free. Amarillo by morning, Willow is where I'll be. Lost my saddle in Houston, with a lake down Santa Fe.